Greetings, humans! Project Hail Mary. As with any review, this may contain spoilers. I like it when people bet on themselves, and that's what Ryan Gosling did with Project Hail Mary. I don't think he bought the film rights to Andy Weir's novel himself, but from what I can gather, he played a major role in getting the project made. I think MGM was the one who wrote the check for around $3 million for the film rights. So far, 2 of Andy Weir's novels have been box office hits, with The Martian and now with Project Hail Mary. I can only imagine the bidding war and final price tag for the film rights to the next novel. Getting back to the movie, the story follows science teacher Ryland Grace, played by Ryan Gosling, who wakes up on a spaceship with no memory of how he got there. He finds the rest of the crew members dead. As the days go by, Grace begins to regain his memory along with the mission of the spacecraft. There's a mysterious substance called astrophage that is causing the sun to die. Obviously, this has massive implications for Earth. Other nearby suns are also dimming, and the spaceship was sent to the only star that hasn't been affected to find the cause and hopefully a solution. Along the way, Grace encounters an alien spacecraft that also has one surviving member, which Grace calls Rocky. Rocky is on the same mission as Grace and is looking for a solution that is also affecting his son. I had some hesitation coming into this movie, and that was due to the trailer. The character of Grace came off as too comedic. He has a PhD, but Ryan was playing him as a character on SNL. The start of the film was comedic and it only amplified my worries. The beginning of the story begins with Grace on a spaceship coming out of his stasis. He doesn't know why he's there and what's going on, but makes a joke that he knows he's smart after exploring inside the ship. Thankfully, after the first 10 to 15 minutes, the comedy was toned down without removing it completely. I would say for the rest of the story, the comedy was more balanced. Later in the story, we do learn why Grace acted the way he did in the opening of the movie, and it's pretty emotional. I don't know if I fully buy the reasoning why he would remember his intellect, yet not remember why he's on the ship, but it does tie that together. One thing I appreciate about the story is that Grace wasn't given a family for motivation in saving Earth. The story could have easily gone that route, a la Interstellar. Sometimes we don't always find our person at a younger age. I'm 44 and I've never been married or had kids. This is a movie for us single folks. In a conventional story, the memories or flashbacks would have been of Grace with his girlfriend or wife and his kids if they had any. That would have been the emotional throughput in the story, but this chose to make the relationship between Grace and Rocky the emotional bedrock of the story, no pun intended. To take it a step further, Grace didn't even want to go on the ship. This was always a one-way trip and he didn't want to die in space. I like that he wasn't the typical hero stepping up. He was scared, as most of us would be. He later becomes a hero, but it's a journey in discovering that side of himself. Plus, at that point, he's on the ship and has no other choice. Basically, live and adapt to one's circumstances or wither and die. A word that I would use to describe this film is hopeful. It's one of those stories that you actively root for, and you want to see the characters succeed. Very reminiscent of Apollo 13. Space movies that have things go awry will do that for you. I'm so happy they used practical effects for Rocky. The film used puppetry and animatronics to make Rocky come alive. I'm sure there's some CGI as well, but I'm glad they didn't go all CGI. I think that would have removed some of the emotional impact that character had. I don't think I would have been as invested in Rocky if it were purely CGI. With the box office success, naturally, there are now talks of making a sequel. However, the author of the book never made a sequel to Project Hail Mary. If a sequel were to be made, I could see the following being the plot. As it currently stands, Talmiba destroys astrophage. What if astrophage begins to develop a resistance to Talmiba? This could then lead Grace and Rocky to look for a new solution on other planets. For all the positive things I've said about this film, not everything was right with the movie. There was one glaring problem that not enough people are talking about, and that was the use of Twizzlers. Really guys, I'm okay with the use of sour Skittles. I like those in moderation, but not Twizzlers. Twizzlers is the devil's candy. I'm team Red Vines. So those were my thoughts. What did you think of the movie? Leave a comment down below, subscribe, give the video a like, and see you in the next review.